All right. It is Thursday. Welcome, everybody. Let me come up here and just say hello. Oh, welcome. It's Thursday night, and we're having some fun. It is time for Art Pastor Live. And let me come here. Yeah, there we go. Welcome to Art Pastor Live. It is Thursday night, and I'm so glad to be with you. It is time for getting together. Usually I do this on Thursday mornings, but I had an all-day session at the seminary today, which was awesome. But that means I have to do it tonight at 7 o'clock. So if you're out there on Facebook or on the YouTube, leave a chat. Let me know that you're here so that we can start being interactive. So this whole month at the Art Pastor, I've been focusing in on the art of ordinary time. So I'm Steve Thomason. I am a visual artist. I am a pastor in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and I'm a professor of spiritual formation at Luther Seminary. And you put that all together, that makes me the art pastor. And I do what I do so that together we can explore spirituality and scripture through visual art and creativity so that we can grow deeper in the love of God through Jesus Christ in the power of the Holy Spirit for the sake of the world. And each month I look at a different theme. Each week we drill down in a different thing. And I've been looking in throughout July to the, hey, my wife Lana is here. She's on the YouTube. If you want to chat with her, you can just chat with her on the chats on the YouTube. So glad to have her here tonight watching. And the reason she's watching is because we have a very special guest that she and I brought into this world together. Because here's what we're going to do. I'm a visual artist. And part of what I do at Art Pastor is, as like I said, use visual art and creativity to explore spirituality and scripture. And this week, I'm interviewing a photographer because photography is a beautiful form of visual art. It takes a special kind of eye. And I'm interviewing a photographer that has a very unique vision of the world. This guy sees things that most people just don't see, and then he captures them in beautiful imagery. And I'm calling this session The Universe in Your Backyard. And let me introduce you to this great guy. His name is Ethan Thomason. And here he is.
Hi there.
And yes, haha, we share the same name because
DNA.
and DNA. I contributed half of it, and Lana contributed the other half. And he is our son, and we're very proud of the work that he's doing. And he's a great artist. So Ethan, you are a musician.
Mhm.
You are gifted at the technology of music and video editing, and you're a photographer. And so
Yeah.
I invited you to join me tonight because I just thought it'd be super cool. We're both total tech geeks, and so we can
Oh, yeah,
geek out
definitely.
around things. But you, our backyard, so we share a house together, and our backyard has all kinds of normal things. We've got grass, we've got trees, we've got all this stuff that most people will just look at it and go, "Oh, that's a nice backyard." But when you look at our backyard,
Mhm.
you see something very different. And so,
Mhm.
um, can you just here's what I want to do, just to
Mhm.
give people just like a taste of what we're going to be doing.
Mhm.
I'm going to have you just share like one
Mhm.
super cool close-up picture, and then we'll turn that off for a minute,
Ooh,
and then we're going to talk about it. So pick your favorite. So this is just a teaser. This is a little preview of
that's
things
a
to
good one.
come. Oh yeah, check that out.
Mhm.
So tell us what we're looking at in this picture.
So this right here, in our backyard, it's on a slope, um, and we have a pool, and then on the end of the pool, when it gets towards the fence, there's a little retaining wall, made out of these logs here, and it's quite old, so it's had a lot of time to decay. And this here is a whole bunch of moss and new little plants that just found a spot to grow, and they've been flourishing here for years. I've been observing them, and it keeps coming back every year.
And just, I mean, just look at that photograph. That is like this beautiful landscape. And it could be a cliff that is hundreds of feet above the sea or something, right? And it's only a half an inch. Like, how tall is that little crack that we're looking at right here?
Let's see, maybe half an inch at most.
Yeah, that's so wild. Okay, so we're going to geek out and really look at Ethan's artwork. Here, let me turn off that stuff for just a second.
Right.
But the first thing I want to do is, again, invite anybody who's watching this live. If you have any comments or questions that you'd like to ask Ethan or me along the way about how he takes his photography, how he finds his vision, those kinds of things, please feel free to put your comments in the chat, and I will monitor that. And I'm pretty sure that I can see everybody from both Facebook and YouTube. Yeah. So if you're on Facebook right now, please leave a chat just so I can make sure that the chat feature is working. So, but first of all, Ethan, let me ask you a couple questions. What first drew you into wanting to look at the backyard in this special way?
I think, well, I mean, I've always had an interest for plants and bugs and things, but for taking pictures in the backyard, that was actually because of Shasta, who was our dog. He passed away a few years ago, but he moved down here with us and was with us here for a few years. And I noticed when he went to the backyard, there was a particular plant that he would always go and eat. And so, I got nervous, like, is this going to kill my dog? Is this a poisonous plant? And so I found an app that let me take a picture of a plant and find out what it is. And so I found that one. It was Pennsylvania pellitory, which is totally safe and also edible for humans and tastes like a cucumber with a little bit of a spicy kick. And so then just being able to point my camera and get information about things.
You're kind of an information junkie.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's interesting.
So anonymous for that. So
you're IA, Information Anonymous. So what I'm hearing you say is that what actually drew you into it was the knowledge that was just out there. Like, there's this whole new world that you could see. So then how are you taking your photographs? What's your camera and your technology behind it?
So that I got an iPhone 12 Pro for a gig that I was working at the time where I was shooting video for them. So I wanted to make sure I had a good camera. And I use it for photography as well. Here it is right here. And I just got a new attachment, which is a macro lens, so that I can get those real up close shots.
Here, let me put you up here. Hold that up again. I made you big on the screen there.
There we go.
So that's a macro lens that clips right over the top of your iPhone, right? So your iPhone has 3 cameras in it.
Yep.
And then this one goes over top of your camera and turns it into a macro lens.
Yes, which is good for up close photography. It gets that really nice depth of field and really high definition on those very small things. Previously, I was using the built-in telephoto lens, which was able to help me kind of fake that depth of field. I wasn't able to get quite the definition that I wanted on here with that camera, but the macro lens is helping with that, and it's fun getting used to it.
That's awesome. Well, I think we just need to dive in and take us on a tour of. Okay, so let me just say this first. one of the reasons that I'm interested in this is because as art pastor and exploring spirituality and scripture through visual art and creativity, um, this whole month of art, the art of ordinary time, is seeing and experiencing God in ordinary places. And every night you come and show us these photographs that you've taken, and I truly am in awe of your eye and your ability. And by the way, everybody, he has like thousands of these, so
I
I
have
made
so
him pare
many.
it down. But I'm one of the key words for me theologically is wonder. When we can look at the world around us and pay attention to it, and just the complexity and the beauty of the designs that we see in nature, it brings us to a place of wonder. And that's what I see in your eyes every time you come and show us these photographs. So just take us on a wonderful tour of your photos. And if people have comments or questions, and then I'll ask you some introspective questions, reflective questions at the end. So go ahead. Let's enjoy the tour. Here, I think I said I was going to put us this way so that the whole screen,
so that we can still be here.
Yeah.
So this one here, one of the things that I first started taking pictures of were violets. I just thought they were beautiful flowers. They show up very early in the year, and they're very small. They don't last very long, but they really are just these beautiful, delicate flowers. And you can see this little bunch is low to the ground, as well as, if you look closely, it almost looks like it's a little wizard casting a spell. See, here's its head underneath the hood, and the little hands and its flowing robe.
So cool. And so I want to comment on this one because this is right in the middle of our lawn, right? And to be perfectly honest, you and I have had arguments about this because
yes, we have.
Many people in our suburban context. So we live in Apple Valley, Minnesota, which is a suburb of St. Paul, Minnesota, Twin Cities. And one of the ideals in this suburban utopia is to have a perfect monocultural lawn where there's just one type of grass and nothing else. And so many people would see these violets as weeds that are polluting my lawn. But because of your eyes, I mow around these violets until all the blossoms are gone, because they are so beautiful, but they're so small. And so you have opened my eyes to the beauty of these little things that people think are a problem. So go ahead. I won't comment on every picture, but go ahead.
Oh, that's okay.
I can't promise that I won't, but I'll try not to.
All right. And again, violets, just so pretty. This one just hiding behind the blades of grass. As well as things that are as common as dandelions are beautiful. And also, it's kind of hard to see here, but like here's an ant. Like dandelions are an important food source for a lot of these small insects and animals that just go around.
And look at those little curly cues on the dandelion.
Yeah.
Like, who knew?
Yeah. It's beautiful. And speaking of beautiful dandelions, here is one that's just opening, and look at that, like that little spiral that it has as it's just unfurling itself. It's simultaneously mathematically ordered and chaotic at the same time, which is one of the things I love about these plants. And
another
again,
thing I love
source for many things.
Yeah, is that a slug? What is that?
Oh, that's a caterpillar.
Oh, that's a caterpillar eating the dandelion.
You want to talk about this?
No, well, just all your pictures. One of the things that I think is so aesthetically pleasing about your photography is how you have the depth of field. So the background is blurred, and you just focus in on, that's a great example. You got this crisp focus on this tiny little blossom, then everything in the background is blurred out, and that's all, you're capturing that in camera. That's not any kind of After Effects editing or anything.
Correct. That's all in camera. This is another little variety of dandelion. And I've also really liked the columbines, which I found growing near that little shelf of moss that I showed off at the beginning of the stream. And this one is edited black and white and messed with the contrast. But I just loved the way that these droplets formed on the leaf. And you can see they're so tiny. These tiny little specks all in here, all water.
And the whole world is captured inside of each of those droplets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just multiplied. Like all those reflections. So cool.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that I really like doing, because I do this almost every day. When it's warm out, I'll go around and do a lap around the yard. And I get to see the life cycle of a lot of these plants. Like that columbine I just showed you a leaf of. It's a bud. And then it starts to bloom. And then it opens.
Wow.
And also, these are such crazy flowers. I love them. They're wonky. You can see these little hooks here on the side. Those are little nectar channels. It's like a big old flagon of nectar that the flower produces for the insects that come and pollinate it.
So cool.
Mm-hmm. And then it forms its seed pods, and then they dry up, and these little black seeds scatter everywhere. So
and
just watching the life
those,
cycle.
People collect those seeds from this pod, and then you can plant them the next year and spread them around.
Yep, I actually did that with some of ours last year.
So cool.
And then also something that I think people don't appreciate enough is moss. I mean, seriously, look at this stuff. This is just around the ring of our fire pit. But moss will grow anywhere. It's known as a pioneer species. It does not need any soil because it will create its own. I mean, here it's just growing on rocks, and like what these different pioneer species do is they decompose what they're on, whether like in this one, it's decomposing the rock that it's on to get minerals out and break it down, or over here where it's decomposing wood and plant matter and turning that into its own soil. You can actually see how it's been forming soil over all of its years of growing and dying and breaking things down.
I mean, just that one tiny little section is so complex. There's so much going on in that moss and all the different textures and shapes. So cool.
Yeah. This is my favorite patch of moss.
Yeah.
As well as you'll notice some weird weather phenomenon that we had. Like this was taken December 29th of 2023. We had an unseasonably warm winter that far into the year, and everything started growing again, but then it froze. And so here you can see the ice crystals on the moss.
Wow.
Which is just
very
insane.
Cool.
And again, we already saw that one. Great little picture. Oh, and then the weirdest and most wonderful of worlds, fungi.
I'm a fungi.
Are everywhere. That's debatable.
I grow on you.
Yeah. Oh,
continue with your book report.
Okay. So the thing about fungi is you often don't think about them, and we often just think about the way that like they're gross and they're on dead things, but they play a super important role in the environment for breaking down dead things so that new things can grow. And they're not very picky about where they go. Like this is a piece of wood just in our fire pit that we left around too long, grew a shelf fungus on it.
Yeah, like we don't make fires in our fire pit. We just throw logs in there and let mushrooms grow on them.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then there's also like mushrooms that you don't often think about. Like this is a fungus right here that feeds on the dead leaves in our yard.
Looks like a zebra.
But when it opens up to release its spores, it creates this intense labyrinth pattern on it that I find fascinating.
Yeah.
And fungi, they really don't follow any rules that we're familiar with life. Like this jelly fungus right here. How? Like seriously, how?
It's like somebody's brain growing out of the side of their head.
Yeah, but that is alive, and that
Wow.
blows my mind.
This is our backyard, people. Remember, this is our backyard, and you're like, I'm never going to their house, but it's so tiny. Like you would not know that this was here. But my guess is that if you went into your backyard, you'd find all this stuff if you just paid attention. Okay, continue.
Yeah, like speaking of paying attention, this one, I just flipped over a log and found this beautiful sight of a mushroom that was just barely trying to make its way out to where it could get some sunlight. And you can see the strings of mycelium over here where it's growing out from here and creating the cap so that it can release its spores and proliferate.
All right, just tell us what mycelium is.
So mycelium is actually what most of fungi is made of. It's the web of stuff that is underground and spreads itself in these thin strands. The mushrooms that we see, like this one right here, that's actually just the reproductive organ of this colony of fungi. It's known as a fruiting body. Which is why you can harvest the mushrooms safely without damaging the larger colony underneath. Yeah. So
yeah, and if you're a Star Trek Discovery fan, you also understand that the universe is connected with space mycelium, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, we haven't found tardigrades that big or interdimensional yet. We're working on it.
So all our Star Trek nerd fans, yeah, you just got real happy right there. Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yep. And again, just more mushrooms popping up in the forest. This is one of the weird ones that I found. I was on a walk in the woods nearby, and I just saw this on a tree. Giant
looks like a turtle.
Fungus. It does. It does. Or like some kind of really bizarre pastry.
Yes.
It's probably cursed and you shouldn't eat it.
That's right.
And this is just growing in our mulch. It's, in case you didn't know, mulch comes with its own mushrooms because those spores find themselves on everything. And mulch is a perfect source for them because it retains that moisture which they need and is a whole bunch of dead wood, which the saprobic mushrooms like these will decompose. Some shelf fungus. And this one. Okay,
this one's my favorite.
This was a huge find this year. These are morel mushrooms. They're very rare. They're very hard to breed or cultivate. But I was going around and I looked in the rocks by our pool, and about 10 to 20 of these had popped up just out of the rocks. And these ones are fascinating, partially because they look kind of like a brain. But also because they form a mycorrhizal relationship with tree roots. And so what that means is that the mushroom, through its mycelial network, will get at things like water and various nutrients that you can get underground. And the plant will reward the fungus for that contribution with things like sugars that it produces from photosynthesis. And so they have a symbiotic relationship with each other. So, yeah. And this goes for like $80 a pound if you're harvesting them for food.
And you picked these up and cooked them up and ate them.
Yes, and they were delicious.
Yeah,
absolutely delicious. And again, just watching things grow. Here's a little bud of a branch on a tree. You can just watch as it just bursts open and new leaves
So
come out.
that right there is the bud from the previous picture, and you just
Yep.
catalog this. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yep.
Boom.
Yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about making those laps is you get to see how these guys grow up.
See, I want to pause there because that's like a rhythm of life. It's a spiritual practice of just walking around the same spot and observing over time, and you see life happening. And I just think that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And so much of it happens. Oh, we got a visitor on the stream.
Nice.
My cat.
We got cat vision going on.
Yeah. And there's also just so many beautiful textures that you can see. This is part of that retaining wall that I mentioned earlier, just the end of one of those logs where Lichen has decided to set up shop. And it just creates this amazing pattern. You can see there's moss here as well.
I liken it to a wall.
Next picture. And you can also see some really interesting things. Like, actually, let's look at this one first. So this right here, some lichen from the park that's just across the street over there. And this, these fungi and bacteria are more efficient than any government I have come across because they are a community of different types of fungi and bacteria that basically they set up shop and they help each other and they form basically a community off of that. So you see these black dots here in these little cups. What's black right there is actually a whole bunch of cyanobacteria, which is a photosynthetic microorganism. So it can produce sugar just from sunlight. And what the lichen, the mushroom, is doing, the mushroom part of it is providing a place for it to be and offering it protection. And in return, it is taking some of those sugars that the cyanobacteria produce. So these are farmers.
Wow.
Which is insane.
So cool.
And the reason I wanted to look at this one first is you see how it's pretty pale right now. But after it rains, these just come alive.
That's the same stuff?
Yep. Same kind of stuff. Different tree, but same stuff.
Wow. So
you can blossoms see over here.
Turns green. And all these, from a visual palette perspective, just the diversity of color is breathtaking.
And speaking of which, well, real quick, this one I just think turned out pretty cool. And the moss almost looks like a fern if you were imagining this is like forest sized.
Yeah.
And not the microcosm that it is.
I've always thought that your photographs could be backgrounds for a fairy story.
Oh, thank you. So this is just a picture of our fence, which has a whole bunch of lichen on it. And this one,
our wooden fence is like almost 40 years old.
Yeah, it was.
So it's got a lot of character.
Yeah, I think we were theorizing it was constructed probably in the 80s.
Yep.
Yeah. So this, all I did for the editing on this is just bump the saturation up. All these colors were here. And so just the amount of diversity and color in these is fascinating. And here's one with my new macro lens getting real up in there.
Oh, wow. Look at that. It's almost like a coral reef shot.
Yeah, these yellow parts especially, they are very reminiscent of something in between a leaf and a hunk of coral.
So would you say that these lichen are like land versions of coral? Because coral are living creatures.
Yeah, coral is living. The one difference between them is the fact that when coral dies, it leaves behind essentially fossil remains that can still act as habitat for the sea creatures.
All right.
Or get crushed down and turned into sand and all of that. Whereas these don't really build up anything particularly large like coral. But I could see some similarities there in the sense that they are both places of concentrated amounts of life in otherwise desolate areas.
Yeah. So cool.
And catnip, which we have cats, so they love it. But it is a fascinating plant. First of all, this is, I have a little microscope that I use, just a little thing that I clip onto my phone. And this right here is a close-up image of catnip. And these spines right here, there's something that a lot of plants have. They're called trichomes. And they are little crystals of chemicals that the plant produces to either physically or chemically keep bugs away from them. Because if you're a tiny bug, that might look very threatening, as well as the chemicals inside of those spines, and catnip has other ones underneath the leaf surface too, which is what gives it that unique smell. Those are the plant's pesticides that it produces.
If that were bigger than me, I would not go near it.
Yeah, definitely. It was also affected by the freeze this past year. But I just love watching them grow up. This is a great shot there's a little patch of moss by where some of the catnip and milkweed that we have grows that I think looks just like a fairy forest. And I mean, this looks like a tree standing in a forest, and the flowers blooming, and the bumblebees, man, they love catnip so much. Here's it blooming, which we'll have some more of those in a moment. They have fascinating flowers. You'll see here, it's almost like a maw opening up. Yeah, it's a little hard to see with the exposure. Sorry about that. But
the first time I saw, when you show us a close-up of the blossom, I know you have another one but when I first saw it, it reminded me, oh, no, you don't. It reminded me of the Cave of Wonders from Aladdin when it opened up, like, who disturbs my slumber?
You know, I could definitely see that. Let's see if we got one here, like that right here.
Yeah.
This one here.
We all see strange things. We see what we want to see in things, right?
That we do. I think it's called apophenia.
I believe you.
Maybe you shouldn't. I don't know.
Maybe not.
And then moving on to coneflowers, which I recently found out is the same thing as echinacea, which is an herbal medicine. But this right here, you know, I wasn't even intending to take photos of these things. They just appeared. I was just taking photos of the sunset against this flower, and I noticed this spider who's sitting here just waiting for an unsuspecting pollinator to come and fall into its trap.
And you can see its web coming off and reflecting in the sunlight. I just
Yeah,
love,
right
and
over
you
here.
can see that. I just noticed the rays of the sun as you go up. See how the sun rays are coming up in the background there, and that's just a beautiful backlit shot.
Thank you. Got some lens flare on it. And
J.J. Abrams would be proud.
Yes.
Lens flare.
Yeah, the moral of the story is never clean your lenses.
That's right.
I'm kidding. Clean your lenses. And the bumblebees, man, I love watching the bumblebees. They're just so cute. And the coneflowers have this incredibly bizarre construction that I just love. And they attract so so many beautiful, beautiful creatures. And you can see here that this red admiral butterfly here, it almost looks like these are real feathers on its wing.
Yeah, so cool. So much texture.
Mm-hmm. And with my new macro lens, I've been having fun getting real up close and personal with the bees.
Wow.
And yeah, you learn a lot about these plants when you're observing them up close like this. Like, you'll notice certain patterns. Like you'll see this ring of yellow pollen here. It shows up in these little 5 pointed things as it unfurls, and the nectar channels are very close by, so that when the pollinators come by, they will pick up everything. You can see it's going on its way here, following that route. And sometimes bugs didn't even know that they were pollinating. They just kind of are. This right here is a Japanese beetle. It's an invasive species in our area. Kind of cool to look at. Very destructive. Very stupid. They're not intelligent bugs, but they are also very resilient.
Okay, I tell you what. I'm going to put you under pressure.
I'll put me
I
under
want you
pressure.
to give us 5 more pictures. 5 more pictures, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
All right. Let's do that. Well, here's picture number 1. This is an ultra green metallic sweat bee, which, despite being called a sweat bee, does also go around and pollinate and make honey and all of that great stuff. And it is one of the coolest little things I've ever seen.
Looks like it's wearing a metal jacket and helmet.
And this one here really shows off that pattern of the coneflower. And it's a really interesting optical illusion as well, staring at that. Okay, I got 3 more.
Yep.
All right, here's one. So this is a picture of a tiger lily. There was a quick break in the rain mid-June, so I was able to get some photos of that.
It's beautiful.
Which I think looked really nice. As well as a pink one.
Oh, wow.
Okay, one more?
Yeah. Go out with the bang. And we can kind of see them all as you're scrolling down, so we're getting them all quickly.
Yeah. Well, I think that if you're going to be going for one that encapsulates like a little world. Oh, actually, let's just end on this one. Little guy doing his thing.
So cool. All right.
What's your question?
So
let's see if I have an answer.
Here's my question. I think I'll bring us up like this so that we can still have the pictures on the side. But so, I'm the art pastor and I'm a theologian, and I'm exploring spirituality and scripture and through art, creativity, and what I wonder for you is, what has this universe in your backyard taught you?
A lot.
What are you learning? Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I have learned, first of all, another one of the reasons that I started doing this practice in the first place is it was during COVID, and you couldn't go anywhere. Things were very stressful. And nature walks are supposed to be good for dealing with anxiety and things like that. And so that's what I did, do some grounding in nature. And it is amazing how resilient nature is. Like, I would get
Mm.
worried for these plants all the time. Like, oh no, they're gonna die. Like, oh, we need to do something. Like, we have to be responsible for this. But no, they're, for the most part, they can really take care of themselves. Nature takes care of itself. It does not necessarily need human intervention to maintain its own order.
It's almost like it was here
And
first.
yeah, weird. And also, just like watching these plants and going through watching them live and grow and die and come back,
Mm.
is you get to see the patterns in things, and humans are not ultimately that dissimilar from plants and insects and other living creatures in that way, and our thoughts are also very similar. Like, what's a good way to put this? So, like, when you're sharing ideas, it's like you're spreading your own dandelion fluff or spores, or offering a fruit with a nice thing that you'll eat and digest, and it'll become a part of you. So I call it thoughtany. It's like thoughts and botany.
Oh, I love that. Thoughtany.
Yeah. So we have like we all grow our own mental gardens, similar to how things appear here, whether we chose to plant that idea or whether it just drifted in. We are subject to that. And also that there's a niche for everything. Like if you, and plants are not precious about themselves, honestly. Like if a part of the plant isn't functioning for the rest of it, it just kills that part. Like, is there an infection in this branch? We'll just cut off water supply to that. Not a problem anymore. Is this flower past its time? Okay, we'll just kill that part of the plant and let it fall off. But the plant itself continues to live. And like we had some roses that we moved in. It was just a rose bush stump. Nothing was growing there, but I've been watching it, and the stump is completely rotted out at this point. But the flowers came back because new stems grew up from the roots. Because there's so much.
I'm about to get biblical on you on that one.
All right.
The root,
stump of
the
David?
shoot of Jesse from the stump.
Yeah. Yep. That also came to mind. When I was a kid, I didn't really understand, like, when you cut down a tree, like, it's gone, right? No,
Yeah.
it's as long as the roots can keep getting the nutrients that they need, either by itself or with help from other plants, because they do that. That's a thing. They will survive. And like, again, people are very much like plants in the sense that most of what goes on with plants is underground. Like most of ourselves, we're the only ones who ever get to experience that. It's inside our own heads. And so, yeah, you're about to get biblical. Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. No, I already did. I just
you did? All right.
The shoot of Jesse coming from the stump. But so I want to, so that's so good. I learned so much from that. And one of my big takeaways from this is the word thoughtany.
Yep, steal that.
Which is really cool. And in the world of philosophy and epistemology, there's this theory called communicative rationality, right? Which is the fancy word for cross-pollination of thought. And that's how we learn and grow, is when we share our ideas. So I just had this beautiful mental image that you gave us of my thoughts going out like spores or like pollen in the wind, and helping you to become bigger and better because and then yours come to me, and as we cross pollinate and we have this thoughtny going on, it's really cool. So
Mhm.
so much good stuff, Ethan, and I just want to we're going to wrap it up, and I just want to
Yeah.
thank you for sharing your vision with us, and
Yeah, thank you for having
um,
me.
sharing time with us. And for anybody who's still watching this or is watching this in the future, I do want to make a couple of quick announcements for Art Pastor Live. So I go live every week, and I'm next week, Thursday, I'm going to be live in the evening again because I got another thing next Thursday during the day. But next week is August 1st. And so we're going to launch into a new theme. And this new theme might last for a couple months. It's the art of discipleship. And I'm going to be drawing my working title right now is The Art Pastor's Guide to Discipleship. And I'm going to be creating a comic book that teaches discipleship. And so each session, each week in my live stream, I'm going to be working on drawing that comic book in Clip Studio Paint. So
Ooh.
yeah, and that's my plan for August at least. So if you are interested in discipleship as a theme, the art of discipleship, um, or just want to watch me draw and create a comic book, um, that's what I'm going to be doing for the next month, geeking out on our live stream. So thanks for joining us. Give a shout out. Ethan, how can people maybe send you a message of thanks if they want to get a hold of you or listen to your music or see your photography? Or
That is a really good
do you want to
question.
just all stay away? Yeah, it's like keep out. I'm going to just go look at my
Well, it's
plants.
well, I mean, there's that. Um, it's just that I haven't promoted my socials in a few years. I haven't updated a lot of them in a long time. Um, a couple of these are on my Instagram, Ethan Thomason 13. But I am thinking of making an Instagram page just for these photos.
Yeah, how about you do that? How about you put this gallery up, and I will link to it for anybody. So when I do the post of this this live
Yeah.
stream, which I always do a post on artpastor.com, we'll put a link to these pictures so people can go and enjoy your photography.
Yeah, and we'll get there are 163 of them. I pruned it down from
Yeah,
300, so I feel grateful.
yeah. So you
But you'll
you
be
can
able to
see the
see
ones
some of
we
the ones
skipped
I wasn't
over.
able to show off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again. I'm going to sign off. So remember, everybody, we do this exploring spirituality and scripture through visual art and creativity so that together we can grow deeper in the love of God through Jesus Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit for the sake of the world. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next